dusk settles over Alice Springs as police prepare for another busy night. Among this nightly parade, children as young as 8 wander the streets in groups.
A lot of these kids are probably suicidal. A lot of these kids don't care if they live or die because nobody else does.
The town CBD is the meeting point for what NT police call a dangerous game. Kids careening through the streets in stolen utes, driving head-on at police cars and posing a deadly threat to the public.
It's a one-upmanship type behaviour, and it is very much a dangerous game, and it needs to be stopped and it needs to be stamped out.
It's only just recently that I've really realised that.
Youth advocate Kira Voller knows better than most what's driving kids onto the streets of Alice. She's the sister of Dylan Voller, whose treatment in youth detention helped trigger a royal commission.
When I talk to the kids, they're hurting. They're hurting inside, deep inside. They can't see beyond 5 minutes in front of them. Like, they don't think they're going to live to see tomorrow. They can't dream of what they want to become when they're older, and they don't see that future. It's like all they see is the next adrenaline rush.
Right, come over here, we'll get you home safe, mate.
After weeks of community outcry, the issue finally came to a head last month, with police deploying dozens of extra officers to the town.
We're hoping that it will give the public some reassurance. The public should be feeling safe out in the CBD again.
In the past 5 years, crime has been on a steady and alarming upward curve in Alice. Assaults, theft and break-ins are all climbing, as are rates of youth reoffending.
I've lived here for 30 years and it's never been this bad, and it doesn't let up. The crime's getting worse and the destructive behaviour is getting worse.
Among the thousands with deep ties to the centre is Kylie Johnston, who runs a business and raises her family in the town. For her, the situation is heartbreaking.
There is a general consensus around town that the crime is increasing and that Alice Springs is becoming a really tricky place to live in and work in and operate in.
On the streets at midnight, the ABC spoke with children out wandering, like this 14-year-old Walpuri girl.
At home, we got nothing to do, and there's no really family to look after. You know, families be busy on grog, and you know, there's no one else to look after.
She hopes to one day build a better life away from a backdrop of grog and fighting.
One day in my future will be all right.
Many organisations are working night after night to protect these kids while simultaneously trying to keep the public safe. But the systems are failing. The NT government's now trialling a new policy where kids found on the streets at night can be assessed for neglect and placed into care.
There's a whole range of issues, intergenerational trauma. We're not just dealing with a cohort of naughty kids, and people need to remember that it is a complicated situation, and it's not just something that the police can fix by going out and locking up people in public places.
As authorities work to try to tackle the crime crisis in Alice Springs, many of those who live here are stuck somewhat between a rock and a hard place. While many understand that the challenges facing the town aren't going to go away overnight, they question whether they have the will to see it through until they do.
Every single business owner in Alice Springs would sadly, over the last 6 to 12 months, questioned, why am I staying in business in Alice Springs?
On the outskirts of Alice, young Aboriginal men are working to try to forge change for their town. Founded a year ago, this support service helps young men reconnect with their ancient culture while also finding their place in Western society.
So we really need to be creative and courageous about how we do things differently.
The men know it's not going to be easy to convince a jaded public and transform intractable social problems, but say the risk of not trying is far worse.
If we don't do this now and do it right, and our next generation of younger men and women, our culture might just slowly fade away.